Hey everybody, I'm Clay, this is Zach. We're two members of the Burris Realty Group coming to you today to give you some information about what to expect as we head into the holiday season and 2022.
That's right. Everybody always asks us, how's the market? And their perception is based off what they're seeing in the news or even hearing from their friends in their local communities, etc. So we'd like to give you some statistics that you can count on for what we've seen across the last year, and like Clay said, where we think things are going. So let's first look at the October stats that just recently came out.
Yeah, and these stats come from MyBOR, which is the association here in central Indiana. So getting into those, home prices this year, as most of you have probably heard or seen with your neighbors selling, etc., remain near all-time highs.
Yeah.
We've seen, 14.9% appreciation on average across central Indiana this year, which is extremely high for this marketplace.
Yeah. Well, and so that's great news if you own a home, if you were able to get into the market. And of course, if you've been trying to and that's been a struggle, you understand why. For the same time, for the person that's considering purchasing, we don't want you to be scared of that as we continue to look for new ways to support the modern or the current buyer trying to break into this market.
That's right. The most common question we are getting right now, I think, is, well, we're heading into the holidays. Is now still a good time to buy or sell? And what does that look like as we head into 2022 in the new year?
Yeah. Well, I've got something kind of personally that we both could say just from our rather history in the market. Yeah, it does feel that way. Fewer people are maybe out there because they're hunkering in for the holidays. But I'll say there's also deals to be found sometimes because of that. Sometimes you don't have a choice. You've got to move. And that pertains to both sellers and buyers.
Exactly. Maybe you're relocating because of a job and you have to move during the holidays. So there's still buyers out there. There's just less of them. There's also usually less houses on the market, which is tough to say because there's been few houses on the market all year. But it actually typically does even go down further in the wintertime.
Yeah.
So.
Well, we gathered some information to share with you from smarter men than we are, no disrespect to Clay, but we wanted to look into what is this talk about slowdown. Several data analysts in what we do full time have predicted a slowdown, and here's a line that I wanted to pull out. I'm going to make sure I read to you. Slowdown doesn't necessarily mean reversal. And so what that means is prices might rise more slowly, but it almost certainly means they'll continue to climb in most cities. And we think that'll definitely be Indianapolis. So slow down doesn't mean shut down or reversal.
Yeah, exactly. And I think the hot button words out there like bubble or crash are completely inappropriate and probably just headline grabbers. So in our opinion, those words aren't what's actually going to likely happen.
Yeah. So let's look at four factors that are going to be boosting house values while we consider, well, hey, I heard things might be slowing down. Let's talk about four factors that are boosting home values. The first one here is low mortgage rates. Now, Clay and I have both also been in lending further back in our careers, so we've got our foot in the door there a little bit. But Clay, what would you say to low mortgage rates supporting boosting home values?
Well, it provides buying power for people, right? You can afford more home because of that lower mortgage rate, or maybe you can afford a home that you maybe couldn't afford any house with a higher mortgage rate. And while they are showing trends of starting to tick up, there's no data or analytics to show that they're going to rise rapidly anytime soon. And even as we head back into the low to mid threes on mortgage rates, in bigger picture perspective, those are great rates. I mean, when I started in the industry, you did shortly thereafter, in the earlier 2000s, 2010, rates were commonly in the 4 or 5 or 6 range. Our parents or people that grew up in the 80s, I mean, rates were 15%.
Yeah,
I've heard those stories, you may have too, right? So as we talk about rising mortgage rates, I mean, yes, they're not in the 2s anymore right now, but 3s are still a great rate. It's very affordable.
So you consider a low mortgage rate, and if you're on the fence about perhaps buying a home rather, and you have the choice to do it now or maybe wait till things slow down, I've always said there's no evidence things will slow down. As we said at the beginning of this video, it's still strong. Mm-hmm. And if prices rise, that home that you might have been able to buy now might be not affordable next year.
Right.
Let alone if rates go up, that's going to be a double whammy against a buyer that chose not to act. We're certainly never going to pressure you into a scenario you don't want to be in. But if you've reached out to us and you said this is something we'd like to do, that's really a case for why now is the time.
Exactly. And to go hand in hand with that, I think our second point of why values are continuing to boost is loans are becoming more attainable, meaning standards have lessened a little bit. We saw in 2008 when the housing market did crash, it was largely because of some mortgage practices that were in place. And the market corrected itself, and there's lots of rules and guidelines in place to protect that from happening again. But they kind of over-tightened a lot of things as banks got nervous about lending the money. So we've been in this environment for the last 10 or so years where it's been challenging to get a mortgage, and for good reason, really. But some of those practices have lessened a little bit. Like you're a self-employed borrower now, maybe you don't have a salaried or hourly job. It's becoming easier to obtain those loans. There's still a lot of documentation required to do so. But you can get loans now, whereas maybe 2, 3, 4 years ago, it would have been challenging.
And we have trusted loan partners, lenders rather, that are willing to try to see what they can do uniquely for you. And so to Clay's point, don't talk yourself out of trying. At least try 1, 2, maybe 3 lenders to see what might be the right fit for you.
And oftentimes no cost to try. So.
Yeah, there you go. Well, okay, don't forget we're talking about 4 factors that are boosting house values. The third point we want to talk about is an ongoing inventory shortage. This is classic supply and demand, right, Clay?
That's right. And we've been in that here in Central Indiana for the last 2 or 3 years with a shortage of inventory, basic economics.
New construction is certainly still winning in this debate where you might want to go out and buy a home. And it used to be if you couldn't find one in the community you wanted to be in, new construction outside of that community was an option. Those still seem to be flying off the shelves, as they say. And so if that's something that you're interested in, we want to remind you, please let us be a part of that journey with you. Again, if the seller is the home builder, they're looking out for themselves and happy to bring you to that house. But we want to be somebody that's looking out for you. And we've got a lot of reasons why that would be good for you there.
Just to share a stat to back that up on the lack of inventory. I've got one here from October from MIBOR, again, the local board. Current active listings are down 18.7% from last year, and last year was low inventory. So inventory is continuing to be more and more of a problem, which is the biggest factor driving the prices.
Yep. All right. Hey, plenty to say about that. We'll move on to our fourth point, the work from home trend. Hey, this is something we've all had to figure out in one way or another. And so home values are boosting for a number of reasons. One is because we're valuing our home now, not just as a place that we live in, but that we work from as well.
Yeah, we were all dealt with this challenge during the pandemic last year, unexpectedly, right? Mm-hmm. We've never had to have multiple office spaces. My wife and I personally felt that when she had to come work from home. I was also working from home when I wasn't out helping a client. We weren't allowed to come to the office for a period of time. Yeah. Now we're both working from home, and our child is doing school from home. So the need for how your house is set up has dramatically changed over the last year and a half or so.
Sure.
From that aspect. Plus, the work from home environment gives many employers are now allowing it to continue full time. So now people don't have to live as close to where they work because maybe they're not going into work at all, or maybe they're only required to go in a few days a week. So we've seen a big trend towards, hey, I want to buy 10 acres and I can live, 20 miles from the city or 30 miles from the city because I don't have to commute every day.
Yep, and that was a thought I had on my mind, which is something that's affecting our marketplace, our buyers that don't have to stay in a city they didn't want to be in, or perhaps moving from a different state that wasn't advantageous for what they wanted to do with their lives. Maybe they're moving closer to family who lives in our local market because now they can work from home and appreciate what that brings to them. So
yeah, we've had several clients this year take advantage of coming from neighboring states that have higher tax laws or that are just simply more expensive. They've chosen to move to the Indianapolis area because it is more affordable from where they're coming from, and they can still keep their job that they were doing in the other state.
That's right. So that house value is boosted because now we're using it for different purposes. And man, if you've got a dedicated office space that someone can enjoy, that's going to bring value to your home. If you've got a place to enjoy outside already, that's bringing value to your home, etc. Things you probably know, but we're seeing in real time that we want to make sure you know isn't just talk. It's dollars and cents that we're seeing boost value.
That's right. So as we head towards the end of the year, I think the moral of the story is we don't see a crash coming, or a bubble, as they say. Prices are likely to continue to maintain or continue to rise. Maybe not quite at the same pace they have over the last year or two, but probably still continue to rise. So should you buy and sell now? I think the answer still remains yes.
Yep. I agree, Clay. Slow down and conversations with friends, potential clients that think that they're going to wait for things to maybe go back to the way they were. I really don't see that happening, and neither do the guys providing us some of the information that we use on a daily basis either.
That's right. So next steps, if you're thinking you might want to sell in the next year or two even, a simple free consultation. We're happy to meet with you, talk about it. We like to set up a game plan for our clients to help them succeed. So whether that's, I want to move in a month, or maybe it's 6 or 12 months from now, the sooner we can get in front of you and develop that game plan, the less stressful it becomes when the time actually comes to find that new home.
That's right.
Or sell it.
That's right. So hey, to just start that conversation, if you don't already have our information, you can simply reply in the comments below. That's a great way for us to reach out to you. You can find us at burrisrealtygroup.com as well, and that's a great way to just start the process.
Excellent.
All right, we'll see you next time.